I grew up on a farm, and I wish we had 20,000 people come to pick our peas and potatoes when that time came. All right, next we have two presenters. We have, there we go. They must be known. We have Chris Falconer, foodie and HR guy, and Owen Petersen, a baker and a miller, talking about the stave of life.
Wait, hello. Can we restart that or no? Does that count or anything? Or okay. Hey, sorry about that. Oh, and before we get started, I have two confessions. One, I took pictures of you last night, sleeping. And two, I really love bread.
Yes, Chris, and I hear that when you love something, you can actually talk for hours and hours and hours about it.
Touche, Owen.
Let's get going. Bread has a rich history that goes back thousands of years. And as far as we can tell, it actually wasn't that good when it started out.
No, see, as the bread scientists that Owen and I are, we recreated ancient bread, which from what you can tell is basically just goopy flour paste left by a fire or a lighter. And it wasn't really that good.
No, it was bad. In fact, it was so bad, it was often used as a trencher, which is basically just a plate made of bread.
Yeah, it was only after that big, juicy meal of wild, organic blue whale that the hardened bread was then soft enough to eat. Really, even then, it was still just given away. And then something magical happened, though, Owen. Bakers became good at what they were doing. They became important members of their town, they gained wealth, and got into a little white-collar crime.
Yes, you see, bakers would roll pockets of air into their bread to make them actually appear bigger than they actually were. The kings didn't like this, so to save their own heads, the bakers would throw in an extra item just to make sure they met those minimum weight requirements.
See, 13 becomes the new 12, or should I say 1912?
Yes, 1912 was an amazing year for bread. You see, Otto Frederick Rottweeder started work on this machine that actually sliced bread for you.
Yeah, but nobody wanted the bread slicer because it wouldn't stay fresh until 1928 when Otto was able to combine a packaging machine with the slicer, thus preserving the loaf's freshness. But what about making bread, Owen, right? Everyone says to us, it's so hard, guys, but it starts with flour, and that's everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere, from corner stores to grocery stores to farmers markets, right here in beautiful Yag.
Even downtown, Mac.
There's whole wheat, there's white, there's so much. The other three important ingredients to making bread are salt, water, and yeast. The salt, much like the water, can come from different sources. You can use table salt, kosher salt, or the fanciest fleur de sel.
Next, we need some tools, of course. Your hands, which I hope are the cheapest and most useful of those tools. A bowl to mix in would be handy, a bench scraper. You know, there's a lot of tools you can use, but just don't stress yourself in the beginning. If anything, take some time with the yeast. You're going to have instant cake, a sourdough, or wild starter.
Yes, and really, it's not much time. Sourdough can be started really easily. Just flour and water on your counter. Let the magic of nature do its thing. Okay, you gotta like baby it a little bit and feed it. It'll come around though, right?
Yeah, and one of the joys of actually using a wild starter comes with whole wheat. Whole wheat, the bran, has phytic acid in it, which binds with important chemicals like calcium and zinc, making it difficult or nearly impossible for your body to assimilate.
Absolutely, but when you ferment the flour with a sourdough culture, this actually neutralizes the phytic acid, and all those incredible nutrients in the whole grain are more accessible to your body. So with your yeast of choice chosen, you can now develop the gluten by using your hands, or you can let cold fermentation in nature do its thing.
You're going to come back after a few hours.
Or 10.
And you're going to punch that proof goodness in the face like it's John Travolta. Which is where three key transformations are going to take place. The sugars in the dough will caramelize because that's the only place that gets hot enough. The gluten will coagulate for structure, and the starches will gelatinize.
As the bread guru Peter Reinhardt once said, bread is really just yeast, sweats, burps, and starch guts.
Really, at its simplest, bread may be those three things, but as the staff of life, it's so much more. The Lord's Prayer contains the line, "Give us this day our daily bread." Heck, even Lenin promised peace, land, and bread.
And in Slavic cultures, bread and salt is given to welcome guests. In India, bread, house, and cloth are often referred to as life's basic necessities.
You know, I dare say it'd be a basic necessity here as well. You must have heard the term breadbasket, which denotes an agriculturally productive region. We just learned about it here. You know, that fits perfect. Canada is one of the largest producers of wheat in the entire world. Last year, over 23 million tons of the stuff.
That's a huge number, considering at the beginning of last century, we only produced 2 million tons. But maybe it's not the quantity of wheat we produce, but the quality. Canada is famous for its hard red spring wheats. Red Fife and Marquis are just a couple of those varieties.
Yeah, and we have all this wheat, right? It's local, it can be organic. Heck, if we need to, I'll write free range on it, Owen. You know? So why do we keep practicing these no-bread diets?
Yes, amen. For something that has stood the test of time, that has been fundamental in basic things like urbanization, it's so too often here in Alberta becomes the big booty scapegoat.
But you know what? Bread is healthy. Do you want to feed your muscles?
Yes, we want to feed our muscles. Eating good bread, it's full of protein, which is essential for maintaining muscle. Do you want to poop better?
I know you want to poop better. Eating the proper amount of bread in your diet will provide the necessary fiber for proper intestinal transit.
Yes, exactly.
You know what?
Now,
why give up the bread, Owen? Why give up the bread? Do you know that carbs are the preferred type of energy for your body?
Absolutely. And even Hal and Joanne can attest to the fact that enough good bread in your diet helps you to live a full life. Stay fit, Chris.
But really, what is it, Owen, that we love? You know, I sat there today and thought, maybe it's a story of life and death that we love about this wheat.
Maybe it's the cycle of life and death. See, you kill wheat when you harvest it, only to have it brought back by yeast, where we watch it grow and develop its own characteristics.
And then the cycle continues, though. We take that dough and that yeast that brought its life, it must give up its own again. What goes in the oven alive now comes out dead.
And the cycle continues. This is where we enter that cycle and we consume the bread, which nourishes our body and fuels us for Pecha Kucha nights like tonight. Move quicker, Chris. So let's make some bread. We got 3 cups of flour. We got 1.5 cups of water. We've got 3/4 cup or tablespoons of salt and yeast. Ladies and gentlemen, you owe it to yourselves to eat good bread.
Wow, we've had a multi-active Pecha Kucha tonight. Wow.
The other mic's right there.
Thanks. All right, next up.